ألم تر أن الله يسبح له من في السماوات والأرض والطير صافات كل قد علم صلاته وتسبيحه والله عليم بما يفعلون.
Do you not see that all that is in the heavens and the earth, even the birds that go about spreading their wings in flight, extol His glory? Each knows the way of its prayer and of its extolling Allah's glory. Allah is well aware of whatever they do.
وَلِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَإِلَى اللَّهِ الْمَصِيرُ.
Allah's is the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and to Him are all destined to return.
أَلَمْ تَرَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يُزْجِي سَحَابًا ثُمَّ يُؤَلِّفُ بَيْنَهُ ثم يجعله ركاما فترى الودق يخرج من خلاله وينزل من السماء من جبال فيها من برد فيصيب به من يشاء ويصرفه عن من يشاء يكاد سنا برقه يذهب بالأبصار.
Do you not see that it is Allah who gently drives the clouds? Then He joins them together and then turns them into a thick mass, and thereafter you see raindrops fall down from its midst. And then He sends down hail from the heaven, thanks to the mountains, and causes it to smile whom He wills, and averts it from whom He wills. The flash of His lightning almost takes away the sight.
74. As has been explained above, Allah is the light of the whole universe, but His light can be perceived and comprehended by the righteous believers only. All other people grope about in the dark like the blind in spite of the all-pervading, all-embracing light. Here a few of the countless signs which guide to the light are being mentioned by way of example. If a person whose eyes of the heart are open, sees them, he can perceive Allah working everywhere around him at all times. But those who are blind of the heart, and can only see with the head's eyes, can see biology and zoology and other sciences working in the world, but they fail to perceive and recognize Allah's signs anywhere working in the world. 75. This may mean frozen clouds which have been called mountains in the heavens metaphorically. It may also mean the mountains of the earth which stand high in the heavens and whose snow-capped peaks cause condensation in the clouds which results in hailstorms.
يُقَلِّبُ اللَّهُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَعِبْرَةً لِأُولِي الْأَبْصَارِ.
It is Allah who alternates the night and the day. Surely there is a lesson in it for those who have sight.
وَاللَّهُ خَلَقَ كُلَّ دَابَّةٍ مِّن مَّاءٍ فَمِنْهُم مَّن يَمْشِي عَلَى بَطْنِهِ وَمِنْهُم مَّن يَمْشِي عَلَى رِجْلَيْنِ وَمِنْهُم مَّن يَمْشِي عَلى أَرْبَعٍ يَخْلُقُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ.
Allah has created every animal from water. Of them, some move on their bellies, some move on 2 legs, and some on 4. Allah creates whatever He wills. Surely, Allah has power over everything.
لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا آيَاتٍ مُبَيِّنَاتٍ وَاللَّهُ يَهْدِي مَن يَشَاءُ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مستقيم.
Verily, we have sent down revelations that clearly explain the truth. Allah guides whomsoever He wills to a straight way.
ويقولون آمنا بالله وبالرسول وأطعنا ثم يتولى فريق منهم من بعد ذلك وما أولئك بالمؤمنين.
They say, we believe in Allah and the Messenger, and we obey. But thereafter, a faction of them turns away from obedience. These indeed are not believers.
76. That is, their turning away from obedience itself belies their claim that they are believers, and their conduct clearly shows that their profession of faith and submission was absolutely false.
وَإِذَا دُعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ لِيَحْكُمَ بَيْنَهُمْ إِذَا فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ.
When they are called to Allah and His Messenger, that He, that is, the Messenger, may judge the disputes among them, a faction of them turns away.
77. These words clearly state that the judgment of the Prophet is the judgment of Allah and the command of the Prophet is the command of Allah. Therefore, the invitation to obey the Prophet is an invitation to obey both Allah and His Prophet. Also see Surah An-Nisa, ayats 59-61, and the ends thereof. 78. This does not only apply to the cases which came up before the Prophet, peace be upon him, for a decision in his lifetime, but this continues valid even today. Thus, a summon from the court of a judge in an Islamic government, who judges a case in accordance with the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of Prophet, peace be upon him, is actually a summon from the court of Allah and His Prophet, and the one who repudiates the judge indeed repudiates both Allah and His Prophet. This thing has been explained in a tradition related by Hasan Basri thus: whosoever is summoned to appear before a judge from among the judges of the Muslims but fails to appear before him, he is a transgressor and forfeits his rights. Al-Jassas, Akam ul-Quran, Vol. 3, p. 405. In other words, such a person not only renders himself punishable but also guilty and liable to be proceeded against.
وَإِن يَكُن لَّهُمُ الْحَقُّ يَأْتُوا إِلَيْهِ مُذْعِنِينَ.
However, if the right is on their side, they come to Him professing their submissiveness.
79. This verse states that a person who willingly accepts only that part of the divine law which serves his advantage, but rejects that which goes against his interests and desires, and prefers the worldly laws instead, is not a believer but a hypocrite. His profession of faith is false, for he does not in fact believe in Allah and His Prophet but in his own interests and desires. With this attitude, even if he believes in and follows a portion of the divine law, his belief has no value whatever in the sight of Allah.
أَفِي قُلُوبِهِم مَّرَضٌ أَمِ ارْتَابُوا أَمْ يَخَافُونَ أَن يَحِيفَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ وَرَسُولُهُ بَلْ أُولَئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ.
Do their hearts suffer from the disease of hypocrisy, or have they fallen prey to doubts? Or do they fear that Allah and His Messenger will wrong them? Nay, the truth is that they themselves are wrongdoers.
80. That is, there can be only three reasons for such a conduct. First, a person may not have believed at all but may only be posing as a Muslim in order to enjoy the benefits of belonging to the Muslim community. Secondly, he might have believed but may still be having doubts about the reality of the prophethood, revelations, life after death, and even the existence of Allah Himself. Thirdly, he may be a believer but might at the same time be apprehending injustice from Allah and His Prophet and considering their commands disadvantageous to him personally in one way or the other. There can be no doubt that the people belonging to any of these categories are themselves unjust. A person who, having such doubts and suspicions, enters the Muslim community and enjoys undeserved benefits posing himself as a member thereof, is indeed a deceiver, cheater and forger. He is not only doing injustice to himself, practicing constant falsehood and developing the meanest traits of character, but he is being unjust to the Muslim people as well, who look upon him as one of themselves merely on the basis of his verbal profession of the faith and let him enjoy all sorts of social, cultural, political and moral relations with them as such.
إنما كان قول المؤمنين إذا دعوا إلى الله ورسوله ليحكم بينهم أن يقولوا سمعنا وأطعنا وأولئك هم المفلحون.
When those that believe are called to Allah and His Messenger, in order that He, that is, the Messenger, may judge their disputes among them, nothing becomes them but to say, we hear and we obey. Such shall attain true success.
وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَيَخْشَ اللَّهَ وَيَتَّقْهِ فَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْفَائِزُونَ.
Those who obey Allah and His Messenger and fear Him and avoid disobeying Him, such indeed shall triumph.
وَأَقْسَمُوا بِاللَّهِ جَهْدَ أَيْمَانِهِمْ لَئِنْ أَمَرْتَهُمْ لَيَخْرُجُنَّ قُل لَّا تُقْسِمُوا طَاعَةٌ مَّعْرُوفَةٌ إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ.
The hypocrites solemnly swear by Allah, if you order us, we shall surely go forth and fight in the cause of Allah. Tell them, do not swear. The state of your obedience is known. Allah is well aware of all that you do.
81. The verse may also mean that the obedience expected of the believers is of recognized and well-known type, which is above every kind of suspicion, and not such as may need swearing of oaths to convince others of its sincerity. Their conduct is manifest and everybody who comes into contact with them feels that they are truly obedient to Allah and His Prophet. 82. That is, you might succeed in deceiving the people, but you cannot deceive Allah, who is aware of everything, open or hidden, even of your innermost motives and intentions.
قُلْ أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَإِنَّمَا عَلَيْهِ مَا حُمِّلَ وَعَلَيْكُمْ مَا حُمِّلْتُمْ وَإِن تُطِيعُوهُ تَهْتَدُوا وَمَا عَلَى الرَّسُولِ إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ.
Say, obey Allah and obey the Messenger. But if you turn away, then know well that the Messenger is responsible for what he has been charged with, and you are responsible for what you have been charged with. But if you obey him, you will be guided to the right way. The Messenger has no other responsibility but to clearly convey the command.
وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ وَلَيُمَكِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ دِينَهُمُ الَّذِي ارْتَضَىٰ لَهُمْ وَلَيُبَدِّلَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا يَعْبُدُونَنِي لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا وَمَنْ كَفَرَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ.
Allah has promised those of you who believe and do righteous deeds that He will surely bestow power on them in the land, even as He bestowed power on those that preceded them, and that He will firmly establish their religion which He has been pleased to choose for them, and He will replace with security the state of fear that they are in. Let them serve me, and associate none with me in my divinity. Whoso thereafter engages in unbelief, such indeed are the ungodly.
83. As has been hinted in the beginning of this discourse, this means to warn the hypocrites that the promise of Allah to bestow successorship in the land is not meant for those people who are Muslims only in name, but for those who are true in faith, pious in character, sincere in devotion, and who follow Allah's religion in letter and spirit, eschewing every tinge of shirk. Those who lack these qualities and pay mere lip service to Islam are neither worthy of this promise nor its addressees. Therefore they should entertain no hope of having any share in it. Some people interpret khilafat, successorship in the land, to mean political power and authority, and conversely conclude that whosoever possesses power and authority in the land is necessarily a true believer and a follower of Allah's approved religion and his devotee, free from all traces of shirk. Then in order to get support for their wrong conclusion, they even change the very meanings of faith, virtue, divine creed, Allah's worship, idolatry, etc. to suit their interpretation. This is the worst distortion of the meaning of the Quran, even worse than what the Jews and Christians did with their scriptures. This interpretation of the verse tends to destroy the very message of the Quran. If successorship in the land were to mean mere power and authority in the land, then all those people who wielded power and authority in the world, or wield it today, would fit in with the description contained in the verse, even if they denied Allah, revelations, prophethood, life in the hereafter, and were involved in all kinds of major sins like usury, adultery, drinking and gambling. Now if all such people are regarded as pious believers and considered worthy of holding the high offices because of their qualities as such, then faith would imply simple obedience to physical laws and virtue would mean making use of those laws effectively and successfully. Allah's approved religion would mean making maximum progress in the fields of industry and trade, commerce and politics by achieving excellence in the physical sciences. Devotion to Allah would mean abiding by the rules and procedures which are naturally useful and essential for success in individual and collective enterprises, and shirk would mean adopting a few harmful methods also along with the useful procedures and rules. But the question is, would a person who has studied the Quran with an open heart and mind ever believe that the terms faith, righteous deeds, true religion, devotion to Allah, Tawheed and shirk as used in the Quran really mean this? As a matter of fact, such a meaning can be understood either by the one who has never made an intelligent study of the Quran as a whole, but has picked up verses from here and there and given them his own biased meaning according to preconceived notions and theories, or by the one who has read the Quran through but has all along been holding all those verses as wrong and absurd, which invite people to accept Allah as the one and only Lord, His revelations as the only source of guidance, His messengers as the only true guides worthy of absolute obedience, and which demand not only belief in the life after death, but also state that the people who would consider success in the worldly life as their sole and ultimate objective, without any idea of their accountability in the hereafter, would be deprived of real success. The Quran has repeated these themes so frequently in diverse ways and in such clear and plain language that it is difficult to believe that anybody who studies it honestly can ever be involved in those misunderstandings in which the modern interpreters of this verse have been involved. The fact is that they have misconstrued khilafat and istiklaf, successorship, after their own notions, which cannot be held as correct by anybody who has some knowledge of the Quran. The Quran has used khilafat and istiklaf in the following three meanings and the context determines in which particular meaning it has been used in a particular place. A. To bear the authority delegated by Allah. The whole human race is Allah's Khalifa, successor, on the earth in this sense. B. To acknowledge Allah as the supreme sovereign and to use His delegated powers and authority in accordance with His law. In this sense only a pious and righteous believer can be a Khalifa, because he alone can discharge the responsibilities of khilafat truly. On the other hand, a disbeliever and sinner cannot be Khalifa. He is rather a rebel against Allah, because he abuses the power and authority delegated by Allah in disobedience to Him in the land bestowed by Him. C. The succession of one ruling nation in the land after the fall of another nation. The meanings, A and B, imply vicegerency while C implies successorship. Both these meanings of khilafat are well known and recognized in the Arabic lexicon. Now anybody who reads this verse in this context cannot have any doubt that the word khilafat has been used here for the government which discharges the responsibilities of Allah's vicegerency strictly in accordance with Allah's law, and not in accordance with mere physical laws of the world. That is why, not to speak of the disbelievers, even the hypocrites, who professed faith in Islam, are being excluded from the purview of Allah's promise. That is why it is being stated that true and righteous believers only are worthy of this promise. That is why it is being averred that the establishment of khilafat will result in the establishment of Islam, Allah's approved religion, on strong foundations, and that is why the condition being put forward for earning this favor is that the believers should remain steadfast in their faith and devotion to Allah, avoiding every tinge of shirk. To remove this promise from its right context and apply it on the international scene to any power is sheer absurdity and nonsense. For further details, see E.N. 99 of Surah Al-Anbiya, also. Another thing that needs to be mentioned here is that the direct addressees of this promise were the Muslims living in the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, though indirectly it applies to the future generations of Muslims as well. When in the beginning this promise was held out by Allah, the Muslims were living in a state of fear and Islam had not yet taken firm roots even in Hejaz. A few years later this state of fear not only gave way to peace and equanimity but Islam also spread outside Arabia to large parts of Africa and Asia, and it became firmly established not only in its own land of birth but outside it as well. This is a historical proof of the fact that Allah fulfilled His promise in the times of Abu Bakr, Umar and Uthman. May Allah be pleased with them all. No right-thinking person, therefore, can have any doubt that the khilafat of the first three caliphs has been authenticated by the Quran itself and Allah Himself has testified to their being pious believers. If anybody still has a doubt, he should read the address of I in Najal Balagha, which was meant to dissuade Umar from going personally to fight against the Iranians. He said, "Our success in this work is not dependent on numerical strength. It is the religion of Allah for which He Himself has opened ways. We are grateful to Him for His help and succor which has enabled us to serve its cause till it has been raised to its present glory. Allah Himself has said, Allah has promised to those among you, who believe and do righteous deeds that He will make them successors in the land. Allah will certainly fulfill this promise and will help the armies of Islam." The position of the caliph in Islam is like that of the string in a necklace of pearls. If the string breaks, the pearls scatter away and the order is destroyed. Once scattered and dispersed, it becomes difficult to collect them again. No doubt the Arabs are small in number, but they have been increased by Islam and strengthened by unity. You should therefore stick to Medina like the pivot and make the grindstone of Arabia rotate about you and guide the war machine from here. Once you leave this place, your entire organization will begin to crumble, then you will start feeling more worried about the dangers behind than the enemies in front. Moreover, the Iranians will concentrate their whole attention on you, and will like to exterminate you, taking you as the main and only hurdle in their way to victory. As for your apprehension that they have come out in much greater strength, I would say that hitherto we have been fighting them not merely on the strength of numbers, but have been putting them to rout on the strength of Allah's help and succor. Any discerning reader can see for himself as to which side is being held by Ali as worthy of Allah's promise with regard to successorship in the land. 84. Kufr, disbelief, here may also mean ingratitude or denial of the truth. In the first case, the verse will refer to those people who deviate from the right path after Allah has favored them with successorship, and in the second, to the hypocrites, who do not give up their hypocritical attitude even after hearing this promise of Allah.